Big Ten is starting to sort itself out, and Illinois has been one of the surprise teams in the league. Vegas, not buying it just yet. The Illini, despite being 4-0 under Brett Bielema, who's won the Big Ten a handful of times, 17.5-point underdogs at Penn State going into Happy Valley. Now, Illinois is an interesting team for me. They're +7 in turnovers this year. That's second nationally. The Kansas game helped. Turnover margin obviously has a huge influence. And we can debate turnover luck and how much that factors in and how much you can produce that versus how much of that is just playing the right teams or being in the right place at the right spot. But there have been 12 fumbles in Illinois games this year. You know how many they've recovered, Chris? Do you have a guess?
6.
4. So there's been 8 fumbles that they did not get a hold of, and they're still +7 in turnover. So we want to talk about turnover luck. One could argue that despite being second nationally,
they don't count the fumble luck. They don't count the fumble luck.
Yeah, one could argue that despite being +7 in turnover margin, the fumble luck has not really gone their way. Now, on the other side of it, Penn State, they've only allowed 9 tackles for loss all season. Andy Kotelnicki has had a huge impact on them. Receivers are open, Chris. We didn't see an open receiver at Penn State all year last year. But I think if you can limit the big plays and make this a slog, Illinois can ugly this up. They got to be able to find some offense. Luke Altmyer, no picks this season. He's played really, really well for them. Played within himself and found guys that are open. His decision-making has been good. But I feel like this is too many points. If everything goes Illinois' way, I think they can win this game. But ultimately, I think they ugly this up. Run the ball, find some offense, you might see a trick play or two in here. Penn State's defense is pretty salty. For all the attention on Kotelnicki, don't undersell the other coordinator, Tom Allen, former Indiana coach. He's done a great job there. They're still top 10 nationally in defense. They got a lot of pieces. They got a lot of talent to play with, but they're playing really well. But I like this to be really low scoring and Illinois to keep this close. Chris, where do you stand on this ball game?
I think a lot of it comes down to those turnovers. Like if Illinois just can't get any takeaways, then Penn State's winning this game. Like Illinois is going to need 1 or 2 turnovers to kind of stay in this game because that's what they've been getting all of these games. I was just praising Illinois on Monday's pod about how hard this team plays. They don't turn the ball over. They get the turnovers. They set themselves up to take advantage of other teams' mistakes. Penn State hasn't been making those mistakes this year like they have in the past. And so, I like Penn State to win this game. 17.5 is a lot.
It is
top 20. 4-0. I'm going to take Illinois to cover, but I can see Penn State running away with this if they take care of the ball.
Yeah. Dame, your dog this week is Nick Singleton. Fantastic running back.
Give us some more running back some love.
1, what separates him? And 2, does it separate him enough to let Penn State win this game by at least 18 points?
Well, what I can tell you that separates him from a lot of backs in college football is he might be the best just from tackle to tackle, in between the tackles runner in college football. Yeah. What I mean is running zone schemes, running man schemes, pin and pull schemes. Like when I watch his tape, he understands run schemes incredibly, incredibly well. He's not a guy that's looking to bounce. Honestly, when I turn his tape on, unless it's a designed outside run, he's not bouncing. He's staying between the tackles, in the guards, running through the teeth of the defense. And what he does a great job of is anticipating all of his blocks. I remember my running back coach in college, Burton Burns, who coached some of the greatest college running backs of all time. He used to say all the time, when you're running between the tackles, you want to make your cut whenever your offensive lineman, whenever your blocker makes the block and sticks onto their defender. And he does that every single time. And that's how you run zone schemes. That's how you run man schemes, where you've got a guard that's pulling up for a linebacker. As soon as he makes contact with the linebacker, you want to be cutting the opposite way. And Nick Singleton does a phenomenal job of that. And once he gets to the second level, he just runs hard as shit. I mean, this guy, I've seen him run through guys who are getting blocked, but just because he was looking for some extra contact on his way to the end zone. I mean, this guy is fast. He's explosive. He runs hard as hell. And when you combine that with having the understanding and the idea of how to run these schemes, these zone schemes, these man schemes, where you got pullers in front of you, you set up your blocks well, you anticipate, you know when to cut. That's whenever you have those big plays. And Nick Singleton's first 2 years, he's had a lot of big plays. So he is definitely somebody to watch for in this game. Is it enough? I don't know. And the reason why I say that is because I'm interested to see how Brett Bielema and Illinois scheme up blitzes against the run. normally when you see these teams that blitz a lot, you think about how that affects the passer, right? They try to get pressure to the quarterback. They try to muddy up his looks, try to force him into bad decisions, get sacks on the quarterback. But a lot of these defensive coordinators and defensive-minded teams and defensive-minded coaches, they like to blitz runners too. They like to get extra guys in the gaps. They like to get an extra safety down in the box. They like to bring corners in. So Penn State is going to have to do a good job of utilizing their communication. They're going to have to bring receivers in to block some of these down safeties. They're going to have to be able to identify some of the corner blitzes because you don't want to run into an open, unblocked guy. That's the worst thing in the world for a running back to see. So I think this is going to be a scheme type game. I'm really interested to see how Illinois dials up their blitzes against such a great runner. It's going to be important to see how Penn State schemes up these runs, knowing that they're going to be going up against a team that runs a lot of blitzes and teams that are going to try to use the blitz to stop the run. Drew Allar is going to have to do a great job of identifying pressure coming from the secondary, coming from the safeties, linebackers, corners, wherever it can be coming from, communicating that to his team, his offensive line, his backs, and getting them in a successful play. That way they don't let these blitzes flip the game upside down in the run game.
Yeah, and one thing, Illinois' defense, they've only allowed 3 plays of 30-plus yards on the season. They have not allowed the big plays, and Penn State's offense has been getting those big plays. So we'll see.